Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvan Raghavan.
The vision was quite clear. It was to provide a no nasties, real ingredients bakery product at scale. A modified atmosphere pack will cost 2 to 3x of what a normal pack will cost you. My differentiator cannot be distribution. We were bootstrapped for almost 8 years. 6 of it was out of choice. Two of it was because we could not answer this question. So don't try to teach consumers. You don't have the bandwidth for that. I don't believe D2C works in food or in FMCG. When you're trying to raise funds, you call yourself a D2C startup. You cannot serve people from your website or from Amazon or somewhere directly as a brand. Now the problem is the customer has moved to the online ordering platforms. So what is the point of this store? So where we are okay with discounting is for a new customer or a new trial or somebody new to the brand. Also go through your pricing structure and see that are you actually incorrectly priced? We don't hire anybody because they are qualified or they come from a certain level. So our head chef today in our factory who knows as much about bread and cake and literally can touch a dough and tell you whether it's ready for baking or not, right? To that extent. Just to point this out, right? He used to earlier, before he joined TBD, he was a security guard.
Oh, is it?
So what happened was he was a security guard in one of Aditi's dad's offices, and we in Bombay, he was in Ahmedabad. One day we were struggling for labor. Right, so Aditi would have just told her dad, "Baba, koi nahi mil raha guys." Right, so that's it. There are these two guys. They are hardworking. Try them out. Right. So this guy Bharat, he came to Bombay. Right. Now he comes from a village called Dharchula, which is in Uttaranchal. It takes him 7 days from Delhi to reach his village. So it takes like 2 days. First a train, then a bus, then he has to trek for 3 days to reach his village. All right. He came to Bombay, started with us as a packer, right? No, first as a cleaner. Then he said, cleaning ho gaya abhi. I don't have anything else to do in Bombay, right? I have 2 more hours. Can I learn packing? He learned packing. After that, can I become a baking assistant? He became a baking assistant. After that, can I become a baker? He became a baker. This was over 4, 5, 6 years.
Nice.
Today, he is being called as a consultant chef when he goes home, right? And that's when we felt, see, you don't need to technically, understand or read. You need to just understand, okay, this is the basic essence, right? This is how this ingredient interacts with this ingredient, right? And a lot of it is you feel in your hands, right? As a baker, right? And that's a true story, right? So today he is like head chef, right? People look up to him. Today, when we are doing breads production locally through some partners, he's the one who's actually going and training their chefs.
Nice.
That, when you're making a sardo, you have to, so Aditi always, says, and I find it quite funny sometimes. She said, like, treat the dough like your baby. I'm like, now, if you pat it too hard, then all the carbon dioxide that you have built or, or the fermentation, you are actually killing it. So you have to kind of pat it. And, and those small things, right, is what Bharat has kind of picked up, right? He talks the same language.
So nice.
I have a question here, Sneh. Was Bharat's role transitions driven by you or by himself?
Himself and Aditi. Honestly, there I have to give Aditi the entire credit, I think, from a team building perspective, right? Like her view has just been amazing across. Like, I think a strong belief of let's build a capability internally, right? Qualifications don't matter. Attitude matters. And yes, Bharat was willing to learn. See, that entire zest that I want to go do something more in life. He had an option of being a security guard for all his life.
But he chose differently.
He chose differently.
Very nice. In fact, Sharon, as they say, in this industry, it will be tricky to say that. Look for people who are hungry. Now, Sneh might say that, okay, I don't want to take that literally. But yeah, I think Bharat showed that hunger to pick up skills, to learn, and then develop that intuitive feel. So therefore, now, Sneh, maybe another offshoot of your entrepreneurship later could be University of the Baker's Dozen, where
we actually very strongly feel about it. We have discussed, and I think there is so much talent. See, our manufacturing today in Ahmedabad, it's 1 hour away from Ahmedabad. So it's a slightly rural area, like a semi-urban rural setting, right? There, see, we had no other option also, right? See, we can't get a trained chef from Ahmedabad and tell him to come there because we have a staff bus which leaves at 6 a.m. in the morning
Okay. Yeah.
and comes back at 6 p.m. Now, like, it's very difficult to motivate, trained people who think that they are made for better things, right? To do this, right?
Yes.
And when they have an option in Ahmedabad itself, right? See, they'll have a very good hotel in Ahmedabad or a restaurant in Ahmedabad, which will pay for their services, right? So, why will they do this? So we had no other option but to hire locally. So we would take village folk and train them. Today, like a lot of our bakers, patisserie, bakery, both, a lot of these rural women around, because for them, see, what's happened is it's a stable source of income. It's a very clear job timing. See, all of these things matter to these people, right? They have to go back, cook for their families, take care. So it's a very stable environment. It's a very hygienic and a nice environment. Bakery factories historically in India, you get this feeling of like, wo bhatti hoga, one guy in a banyan is like, throwing dough. It's like that very, like almost like a film scene, right? And here you have actually most of our rooms except the bread room. So it's air conditioned factory. You have HVAC, you have cleaning happening continuously. You have glass, you have tiling. Those things kind of make them feel you have a uniform which you're wearing to work every day. Right? It's amazing how a lot of these small things matter a lot.
Nice.
And today, those guys have got trained, right? And the best thing, see, what also happens with these guys is they'll never think of taking shortcuts because they don't know that shortcut.
Yeah.
Right? See, today, some trained person might think, okay, banana bread में मैं थोड़ा banana कम भी कर लूंगा, थोड़ा baking powder बढ़ा दूंगा, मेरे को volume तो उतना ही आ जाएगा, मेरे 1 घंटे में काम खत्म हो जाएगा. A lot of those, people can come up with their own things. These guys don't think like that. For them, ये बोला गया है, ये करना है, and यही सही तरीका है करने के लिए. And that's how you ensure consistency in an artisanal product. Right? How many times we have always, felt like you go to a restaurant and you say, ये 2 साल पहले का वो खाने का मजा नहीं है. And then you realize, कि वो chef चला गया है. Somebody has gone, something has changed, the management has changed, something is off.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do I today ensure that the 4-grain sourdough that Aditi was baking herself in 2013 is the same what we bake today when we bake 50,000 X loaves a day versus 10 loaves a day?
Then obviously, one is standardization, second is finding people who believe in it and don't innovate on it.
Yeah. And from the belief point, right, what I'm getting a sense now is about the culture you're building within TBD.
Yeah.
Now, you also spoke about the joy of seeing a brand disappear or be listed in the stores available across.
Yeah.
What was the vision when you started, and what has it evolved over time for the brand of TBD?
See, the vision was quite clear. It was to provide, today the way we articulate was to provide like a no nasties, real ingredients bakery product at scale.
Right.
Right? So I find it very, almost like slightly demeaning, when people build businesses for a sector or an area in a city. You're building like a South Bombay city, but you're you're telling that a Vashi person is not capable of appreciating that value.
Yeah.
Right? And the vision was always to maintain that base quality, right? And take it to scale.
Yeah.
And a lot of our steps, whether it was solving for shelf life, whether it was moving to Ahmedabad. So we had already expanded in Bombay and we had moved to like a 5,000 square feet facility in New Bombay. But see, manufacturing in Bombay is difficult. It is expensive. And we were always in continuously, you are building properties and you're breaking it down. So you're losing out on the capex, etc. And that's when in Ahmedabad, we had some space available. And so we set up today, that is a 35,000 square feet facility.
Nice.
In Ahmedabad, right? And a lot of these decisions has always been that how do you provide the same quality but at scale? A modified atmosphere pack will cost you in packaging terms almost 2 to 3x of what a normal pack will cost you. Right? But that decision or that choice was taken because we wanted to stay true to the brand essence and make it available nationally.
Nice.
I can stay true, not make it available nationally by doing normal packaging, which I was doing earlier in Bombay, Pune. But if I want a Delhi person to have it, if I want a Calcutta person to have it, today with quick commerce, if I want a Coimbatore person to have it, I had to scale also. And that's where we took technical choices for that. So that's always been the vision, to make a national pan-India bakery brand and considered at a higher quality level than what your mass. See, the product has to have a differentiator when it is on the shelf. My differentiator cannot be distribution. I will always boost in distribution to a Britannia or a Harvest Gold by default.
Makes sense. In
Right?
fact,
So
I like this, Sneh, because I have heard multiple founders, those who are really passionate about product quality, etc. Say, for example, Shashank Mehta, the whole truth comes to my mind. He talks about the fact that your strategy or your vision is not tested by what you do, but by what you decide not to do.
Correct.
What are the innovations that I've said no to? What are the things that I've said no to? Really defines the culture in the company.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the way you're describing your passion around keeping the product the same, investing into MAP despite it being 2 to 3x more, all of those no's that you would have said would have told people around you, ki, this is not us.
Yeah.
This is not TBD.
Yeah.
Lovely. Fundamental doubt. Now, as a consult, when you start evaluating a business or when you consult a business, everybody speaks about TAM. How big is the TAM? That really draws people in. That should I get into it? Should I not get into it? Now, artisanal bakery.
Yeah.
वो बोलते ही all
Yeah.
right. So, if you were explaining this TAM to somebody, what would your idea of approaching this would be? If there are founders there who are listening to this podcast and they're looking for some opportunity of such kind, which seemingly outwardly seems small, what's the way of looking about it?
We were bootstrapped for almost 8 years. Right? I think 6 of it was out of choice, where we did not want to raise funding. 2 of it was because we could not answer this question. Right? Because it's a very classic, right? Your TAM, SAM, that entire framework, right?
Correct.
Okay. My point is very simple on this. See, if you look at pure numbers, bakeries, like, if you look at reports, bakeries an 80,000 crore market in India, growing at an CAGR of 12-13%. You'll get great numbers, and you can use that to, kind of put it on your slide and make it all sound great. Right?
And we can also say 80% is unorganized, so potential for organized players.
Unorganized to organized transfer, growing India, GDP growing, GDP per capita growing, people going bonkers buying stuff. Right? So, where I feel is, see, your TAM gets defined by 2 things, right? One, how many people across the spectrum of income. Now I'm talking of whether it is upper class, middle class. At least I'm talking of those 2, right? Consume and understand your product segment.
Yeah.
So bakery or bread or cake, I would still say sponge cake is getting evolved, but like bread per se, and I'm referring, let's say, maybe to even sliced bread for now, right? It's not a concept which I need to make people understand.
Correct. Absolutely not. Yeah.
Right? I grew up in Navi Mumbai having Vibs bread, thinking it was the best bread ever.
Yeah.
Right? My parents thought that was the best choice for me. So it's not something which I need to teach you कि इसको bread बोलते हैं, इसको ऐसे खाते हैं, इसमें मक्खन लगाते हैं. That's not so I don't need to educate. I get a bit worried when you're talking of educating customers as an entrepreneur on something new, because as a challenger brand, that's a very difficult story.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
So one is your consumption use case established? Does the customer understand how to use your product?
Sure.
A lot of the problem with the mueslis and the protein bars in India and that entire world is people still don't understand.
Correct.
Today, how many Indians understand how to use muesli correctly, right? It's still a very hazy thing, right? Like idli batter does not have that problem.
Correct.
Because, sadiyon se people have been either making their own batter, grandmas have been making, mothers have been making. It's not something new, right? So first, is your use case well established in the minds of your customer and how
Right.
to use it? Don't try to educate people over there.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work, right? Then second is obviously what are the kind of repeats and consumption that you see and expect from people. Like something like bread, it is naturally a repeat thing, right? So, let me give you another example, right? Now, like cold pressed juice.
Correct.
Now,
Yeah.
juice as a consumption occasion is very well set.
Correct.
People understand what is juicing and how to have juice, right? But why didn't cold pressed juice like kind of take off the way it was supposed to? Because
Yeah.
you're not willing to spend that kind of premium on a regular basis,
Sure.
right? Recently one young entrepreneur couple, they came to me with a mukwas brand.
Yeah.
That actually I thought was an interesting, because again, in a lot of parts of India, it's not a new habit. It's a
Correct.
very, you eat lunch, you eat dinner. After that, you have some mukwas, right? Right. And that, can it be made better now? So, take a concept which you don't need to explain to people, right? People should pick it up and understand. Can I make a business only of bagels? There was a bakery in Delhi which used to do only bagels. It did not work out.
Because Indians don't know bagel as a use case.
They don't know what to do. मतलब ये क्या है? ये donut with a hole है, but ये donut.
करना क्या है
It's like that. करना क्या है, right? इसका. So don't try to teach consumers. You don't have the bandwidth for that. If you're a Britannia or an HUL and you say, I will take another segment and take the cash from here and try to teach people there and take a 20-year view, that is understandable. You can't do it. Right? And second, is your repeat and use case well established?
Yeah.
Right? If you believe you are there, the time is open. See, today, even if I take an income cut on that 80,000 crore, saying, okay, these many people are willing to buy our products, etc. Right? Take an income cut, take off those filters, take a city filter, etc. I'll still end up with a 20-30,000 crore market.
Sure.
That's more than big enough for an F&B startup. See, we are not, people also have to understand, F&B or FMCG works differently from a tech or a BPC industry version, right?
Absolutely.
You will not get the X to 10X stories here. There are brands which are 100 crore brand in a city.
Yes.
Right?
True.
True. Consumption is very high. You can build a strong, stable business. Right. So don't aim for those kind of returns. Right.
Yeah.
And if 2 or 3 of these criteria meet, then your TAM is there. And your other check for TAM, I always tell people is, don't give me a TAM of a nation. Give me a TAM of a city or an area. Can you build a sizable business in Lokhandwala and in Thane?
Understood. That's the real test of what you're really aiming for.
Correct. Right? Can you become a brand of importance in micro markets? Right? Don't tell me I will be available in 10,000 pin codes. As a food entrepreneur, you're going to get burnt.
Correct.
Right.
A lot of food entrepreneurs, they'll come and tell me that, I'm now going to be available on Amazon and people in Imphal will also buy my product. They will buy. Some of them will buy because you will discount like crazy. But the way to reach there, and by the time your product reaches there and that person ties it, and can he actually buy it at price plus delivery cost to make up for your margins? Never going to happen.
But that is LTV will make up for this, no?
No, it doesn't.
I'm joking.
That's how people will try to sell it.
That's how people will try to sell.
But you're incurring the same cost every time.
Exactly.
The problem is that.
Hey, actually very... in between now, I put it out on LinkedIn also, and a lot of people kind of wrote to me personally. I don't believe D2C works in food or in FMCG. It doesn't. Okay. And the problem is when you're trying to raise funds, you call yourself a D2C startup. Right. But it doesn't, you cannot serve people from your website or from Amazon or somewhere directly as a brand. It doesn't work. There's a reason why a lot of the majors don't do that, right? It's never going to be cost effective. Your repeats, LTV, आप जो भी calculation डाल रहे हो, मतलब, Excel में you can do a lot of things. It's never going to work.
Absolutely.
We realized it actually very late. We built our website. We built an entire new website with loyalty and features and workshop and things like that and all. And one fine day, we said, not going to work, burn it.
Sudeep and I have
What
spoken about D2C not being business strategy, I think multiple times on the show. But you did mention you were on quick commerce, you did mention you were on e-commerce. And when you say you're not a D2C business, but you are using these channels and you also have your exclusive brand outlets, you are also distributing. So what exactly is a distribution strategy, Sneh? How would you define it?
So that has changed also. So just to clarify, today, Sharan, we don't have any of our own outlets.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually 2 years ago, we were at almost 50 outlets, a mix of our brand stores and like a cloud store on a Zomato or Swiggy, the food ordering part.
Okay.
Okay. What we realized, and that's how we had grown, right? See, Bombay, Pune, we grew our stores, then we grew to modern trade, then we grew online, then we moved to Ahmedabad, expanded pan India, right? And these were the channels through which we were growing. So we became we became category leaders for partners like a Nature's Basket, to a Big Bazaar, to a Big Basket. All of that was happening, right?
Yeah.
When quick commerce came in, see, for a brand like us, the major issue in terms of scaling or reaching a customer, actually a lot is access. Once they are able to find our product repeatedly, right? We just need them to try once. Repeats are very high, right? We will ensure or push that they try our product once. After that, we know they're going to come back to us, right? Now, the quick commerce started providing that option. Right? And in a very scalable way, quickly. And as a business, it's a much cleaner backend. As a business, you are sending to one warehouse in a city.
Yeah.
Right. And then they are managing. You're not taking the headache of going all out, right? But that's their business. When that started happening, a lot of our store customers, understand again, now coming to the nature of the product, right? Let's say you have visited our store once. You said, I like your banana bread. Right? Now, do you need to come back to the store? What we started realizing was either there were delivery boys coming to our stores from a Swiggy or Zomato, or there were drivers coming to our stores, or, your Chotus and your, so when was I actually getting to talk to the customer? Also, there was again a choice to be made over there. See, you have a model like a Theobroma also in bakery, which is where it's more of a store. You have an experience. Udhar kya, lekin see, you have to do a lot of add-ons. You do coffee, you do meals. There are Theobroma stores where you actually get pasta, etc. Right? So
yes,
then you need to start doing all of that because your rentals and your costs means your AOVs have to go high.
Right. You're start justifying expenses there.
Correct. Now that's a skill set. See, if you can do it, that's a way to scale also. Right. We were very clear that's not our skill set. We actually tried in Bombay. We used to at one time do sandwiches from the store, like packed sandwiches. We felt a lot of corporates around, etc. But if you're not toasting it, serving it hot, making it there, Indian consumers are also spoiled, right? Because there's that one guy next to you who tabi ka tabi you'll say, isme kam mirchi, jada mirchi. I don't like beetroot. You like beetroot.
Full customize kar.
We have our 20 requirements. हम बोलते हैं ये standard है आपका available है. Right? So it did not work. And we said, we don't have that skill set. We don't want to go down that route. I think a lot of that was for me, I don't like things which you can't, it's not easily scalable. Because here it meant every time hiring people, training them, it's a bit of a clunky way to kind of scale, right? So we said, wo nahi karna hai. Now the problem is the customer has moved to the online ordering platforms. My customer has moved. So what is the point of this store? I'm not getting customer insight. I'm not getting any data. I'm not being able to verify new launches. If I do a sampling exercise on a quick commerce platform where I send 5,000 loaves of bread over a weekend out for free, I actually get more insight.
Yeah.
So over the last 1.5 years, we actually took that call, took a hit on revenue also in some cases. But we said this is not the long-term view of how we can scale the business.
Okay.
So today, our distribution is online, which is mainly quick commerce, but also like e-commerce, like a Big Basket, Amazon, etc. Amazon Fresh, not the marketplace part. Then all modern trade, which is your premium modern trade slightly. So your Nature's Basket, Namdhari, Spencer's, Reliance, now we are starting. So these are the two major channels. So even before that word became a buzzword, right? Omni-channel. We were always omni-channel, not because we thought like that. For us, it was very clear. But one limitation on that is we are very focused to go city by city. We don't go all out.
Okay. How many cities are you present in, Sneh?
So, see, technically more than 30 cities through the quick commerce guys. But that's also, Sharan, considering a lot of the longer shelf life products.
Right. Okay.
Right from cakes, cookies, crackers, etc. If I talk of pure bread, it's more of your major 5-6 cities. So you have your Delhi NCR, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Chennai, some of these major ones. And we believe in going deep in a city. Today also, 80% of our revenues comes from Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, right? And I think we can still be like 2x, 3x in those cities itself.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
that's been our distribution strategy, that we'll go pick a city, pick a pin code. Can you go deeper there? Then expand, then expand, then expand.
Fantastic.
I think makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, now coming to a topic that Sharan initially started with, scheme 12 plus 1 ka scheme. So now, Sneh, whichever way we build a brand or a business, when we are under pressure to deliver growth, one of the first things that comes to everybody's mind is, why can't we do sales discounting? Especially when you go to, when you start riding on some of these new age platforms, where one of the first ways to draw attention is to say, okay, let's run a scheme, let's do free sampling, let's do something else. So how do you approach that, given the fact that people must always, at all point of time, look at your product as something which is of quality? How do you prevent, if you do discounting, how do you prevent that from impacting the quality perception?
That's a challenge. And I wouldn't say no for a new brand. I think for most of us brand owners today, it's becoming a challenge because you have to play the game and you don't have to at the same time.
Yeah.
So what we do is, we are very clear. We want customers to try our product once. So where we are okay with discounting is for a new customer or a new trial or somebody new to the brand. See, somebody who's making a jump from a Britannia to us, right, needs that incentive. And I fairly understand that. So that part is something which we do actively. Like today, for example, we are launching in a big way with Reliance in a few cities. Now in a Reliance Fresh store, I know initially I will need to push it.
Right.
Yes.
However, we also know that once we have a 1, 2, 3 trial, right, then that discounting does not matter much.
Yes.
Now, how do you work on that and ensure that you're not on a permanent discount brand? That is critical. See, today, if you ask anybody, you will never get an answer saying TBD is a discount brand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you will not.
Also, the trick over here is choose your products wisely and keep rotating. Third, sometimes actually also go through your pricing structure and see that are you actually incorrectly priced. So I'll give you an example over there. We used to do our sliced breads earlier from Bombay, from Ahmedabad when we were doing MAP packaging. Now, because of that packaging load, because of the logistics of the Ahmedabad se Bangalore ja raha hai bread, etc., that bread cost was inflated. Now, because inflated tha, so obviously as a business, then you have to hike the MRP. We were at a 2x to a Britannia. So Britannia was a 400 gram loaf at 60 rupees. We were at a 250 gram loaf at 65.
Yeah.
We went and asked our customers a lot about customer feedback, what do you feel about the product, etc. And they came back saying, this packaging and all is great, but I'm not getting that soft feeling. People in India bread wo touch karke kharidte hain.
Correct.
True.
Right? Daba ke.
Me too.
Like, instruction diya jata hai husbands ko. Soft hai, to hi leke aana.
Correct.
Right? So we said, wo sab feeling nahi aa rahi aapke product se. And we realized in that category, in breads, not in cakes, but in breads, while MAP had served for us a purpose for a few years when we were scaling, now it was kind of proving detrimental to the product quality. or the product experience more, not the quality, but the experience more.
Sure.
Right? That's when we said, okay, can we try making sliced breads locally? We find the right partners, we train them, we'll have our people over there to ensure the quality checks. Nothing changes in the product at all, right? But can we pack it locally and figure out a way to kind of give that experience, right? That was a 1-year project and we have done it across India now. So all our breads get made locally in each city.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Now what that did was all the costs which were inflated came down.
Yes.
Today, I have a 400-gram loaf selling in Bangalore at 65 rupees.
Wow.
Versus
nice.
a 400-gram loaf of Britannia at 60 rupees.
Nice.
Plus, I am zero maida, no preservatives, no chemicals, and also infused with sourdough, which makes it better for your gut.
Brilliant. And this is exactly what means by delivering value to the customer. Instead of accusing the Indian consumer of being price conscious, you're delivering greater value and therefore delivering to the value conscious customer. Brilliant.
Excellent examples, Sneh. Thank you for sharing.
Right. And this also hits that point, right? Is it an artisanal product? Yes. Because I am being true to it, right? I'm not adding chemicals. I'm not adding preservatives because the product doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm at a 5 rupee premium to a Britannia. Now, for a new customer, I'll price it at 60 so that he says, "Chal yaar, aaj try kar le."
Correct. For the first time trier, you are happy to give this.
I'm
Uske
okay.
baad zarurat nahi hai discounting ka.
Correct. Right? Today, now, once they realize that actually zero maida hai, ye hai, wo hai, right? Then it's a lot about how you're communicating through your product and the experience on it, right? So if you can work on your pricing structures in a lot of places, right? Be selective on your discounting to only new customers, etc. And be selective on the products. Now, India mein, the problem is a lot of customers don't understand sourdough ka karna kya hai. For them, it's a party bread.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
When I have people coming to show off, I'll get a sourdough loaf.
Correct.
But jab mere ko subah chai mein
sliced bread.
We believe, and that's more now the brand scaling to a certain point and taking a 5-year, 10-year view. Right? That we believe we can build that narrative where eventually sourdough should become a daily bread.
Nice. Yeah.
Right? But I can't tell a customer कि आप 60 रुपए का स्लाइड ब्रेड से 2 रुपए के sourdough पे.
Correct.
Right? I'm smoking up then. Right? So to change that, we now have a sourdough which is at a 150 rupee kind of price point, which is a full loaf of sourdough. And there we are actually going aggressive and telling a customer, I will give it to you at 100, aap bas ek baar try karo. Right? Because the sourdough experience is like next to a sliced bread experience.
Right.
Nice. So it's almost like category education now, using a stable base that you have. Yeah.
Correct. Now, problem what happens, Sudeep, is when people do only category education as a startup, you will fail.
तो problem है. हाँ.
So you have to have a cash cow or something which says कि ये तो बस normally बिकेगा 5 रुपए extra से भी. Versus now I will use that to build this category where I believe in 10 years I have a right to win.
Excellent. No, classic business building. Great.
So some of these things is where then your discounting becomes almost one of the levers rather than the lever.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. Okay.
This is fantastic, Sneh. I'm just taking it back to a relationship thing now. I get into trouble with my wife even when I have to decide what's for dinner, right? And you're in business with your wife, and not just that. From what Aditi is doing, her is more a straight line evolution of the product development, and in your side of the business, there's a lot of trial and error and pivots that have to be taken. How do you justify these pivots, and how do you balance this at home?
It is like that harmonious coexistence, which is not going to happen, right? And I think the sooner you agree on that reality as a couple, it actually makes things better. So there have been so many times when, so we almost, for us, discussing work is also how we spend time with each other,
Nice.
right? So there are times when on a Sunday we'll suddenly be hit with an idea and we're debating that. And that doesn't feel like, okay, you're taking away from me and you time. Right? And it can be sometimes stressful things to be discussed. Like there have been times when रात को before sleeping, we're like, अरे कल वो check hit होने वाला है, उनमें पैसे है नहीं पे. Those things also, that's like, but if you start putting boundaries saying 7 बजे के बाद we will not discuss work, actually that builds stress. Because there are things which need discussion. There are things which, come naturally. See, it is, for us, TBD was our first child. Right? Our twin boys came later. Now, you have to treat it that way and you have to accept that it is part of your life, especially in the initial years. Then, as you start building a team, as you start scaling up, see, one of the advantages of scaling up is you are less in each other's crosshairs. So how many times, initially when we're starting off, we're like, yaar, ye logo ka wo R ka curve na should be better, and today you wouldn't spend time on discussing that. So I think it gets better as you scale, right? And if it is not scaling, then actually eventually, couple should really think whether both of them need to be in the business. Right? Because it does put pressure on the family. There's no doubt on that, right? It puts pressure on finances. It puts pressure on family because both of your incomes, livelihood is dependent on the business, right? So there's no doubt about that, right? So one is accept that work-life balance is not going to happen and work around it, right? Second is at least there should be very clear which departments or functions who's owning and who has the veto power on it, right? On product, if Aditi says no, she says no, that's it. I can't say कि नहीं, but इसका तो potential बहुत है इसका. Right? On sales, for example, it's the same thing for me, right? For me, if I believe कि यार ये नहीं करना है या ये करना है, I want to try it out, then that's a call that I take. Right? So
sense.
if you kind of clarify some of these things, right, it still helps. But it is difficult. It is absolutely, there's no doubt about it. It is difficult. Like our friends get sometimes surprised, like, तुम लोग काम क्या अलावा? So बीच में, this was a trial we did. For 1 month, we both told each other we will not discuss about work. Right? After 1 month, we realized we must have barely spoken to each other. But I think that's how it happens. That's how it works.
So this is a brilliant combination, which defines, I think, the baker's dozen. And I think in one of the LinkedIn posts, I think I read about you saying that you are a great peacetime CEO and Aditi is a great wartime CEO.
Yeah.
Somehow it seems to me that Sneh keeps finding ways to compliment Aditi and thereby, make up for this lack of work-life balance.
No, I absolutely agree. I think, Sudeep, actually, in hindsight, it has worked out very well, right? So, see, I am somebody who will take a leap and then figure out if I'm falling or flying, right? Aditi will check the contours, do the geographical latitude, longitude, angle. Should I take this step or not take this step, right? A business requires both.
No, I think
so
over and over again.
No, what you said, in a wartime, right, you need somebody who's literally rationing, and in a peacetime, you want somebody who's saying, yeah, this is working, let's double down on this. So I'm able to take risks. She's able to measure risk.
It's a beautiful way of saying this, Sneh.
Okay.
Excellent. So now that we have...
I'll use that. I'll let her know that.
We just hope so. On a parting note, Sneh, while you've, helped us understand the baker's dozen, your journey, learnings, etc. If there are young entrepreneurs who are listening to you right now, what would you tell them as an advice, couple of advice, etc., when they're starting up, especially when they're approaching building a brand in a seemingly competitive space? What would be your advice to them? How should they go about it?
Okay. So 2-3 things. Let's go one by one. So first, on the product part, right? I see a lot of people, and that is something which I and Aditi and me both have kind of learned in the last 1 or 2 years is, as a founder, don't build the business because you love your product, right? We were in love with our cakes. Like we used to launch products when Aditi would say, "Ye cake bahut acha hai," I would taste it. We would all love it, and we would say, "Ye costing hai, iska margin ke liye itna MRP hona chahiye, dal dete market." Today we do extensive consumer research. We make people check our concepts. We get brutal feedback, right? Many entrepreneurs come and tell me, my friends and family love this product. That microcosm is not India. It is not even Bandra. It is not even Palina. So test it with enough customers, get brutal feedback, right? Don't test it with people only whom you know. They are naturally biased, right? Because they will be like, yaar, mehnat to kar rahe hai bacche. So we should not say bad things. India, we are very, very this about saying bad things, right?
Correct.
So be very clear. Does the customer like your product in enough settings, in enough types of customers, right? Then see if you can launch it, right? One is that strongly. Second is, you can present whatever you want to whomsoever you want to. You can present TAM, you can present CAC, LTV, all of those numbers, right? ACOS, ROAS, etc. Don't get fooled by it yourself. I understand the need to dress up a bride, right? But you know how the bride looks inside. Many times, founders start believing the numbers that they have cooked up.
Okay.
You know inside that this was more of a story or an icing on the cake, but for me, the focus is here. Like I might, for example, I'll give you an answer on that. I might say GT is a great market, which is the long-term building for a brand. I had recently met Damodar Mal, head of Reliance Retail, right?
Correct.
And he said a line, GT distribution एक state में भी एक lifetime में नहीं होगा. And that's the reality, right? Now, to an investor or anybody, I might present saying offline market sits here. This is where the customer buys. There are 10,000 grade A GT stores. I can do 1,000 rupee per month over there. So ये तो 100 crore तो इधर ही है ऐसा ABCD, right? I know for a fact कि मेरे को तो अभी उसको पहले तो Whitefield में prove करना है ना.
Correct. Correct.
Let's make it very clear. What do I have to do versus what I'm presenting?
Yes.
Right? And it's not that I'm lying. It's just that I am amplifying it. But I know what is my immediate focus area. I should not deter from that. And a lot of founders start getting, like the moment they raise funds, they'll be like, I'm appointing 100 distributors in the next 3 months. Primary ठीक है, secondary तो आने नहीं वाला है ना, फिर आप 6 महीने बाद you'll be sitting on unsold inventory.
Correct.
So those would be my 2 strong points, right? I think the product part and just be honest to yourself as a founder.
Brilliant. Very
brutally honest and practical, and coming from somebody who's already done it. I think it makes a lot more sense, and people can take away.
When you do many mistakes now, you start realizing. Right? It's like
I believe
अभी तक white hair नहीं है, but automatically you start feeling wise.
No, but that's the only way to learn, I believe, especially in business.
Yeah.
You can't sit back and say, maybe that'll work, maybe this will work. Figure it out. And that's the only way it's work.
Yeah.
I think brilliant. I didn't realize we have spent so much time talking about all of these aspects. It's just the time just flew. And it was brilliant chatting with you. We learned a lot. In fact, while Aditi is not on the podcast today, but you can pay compliments to her. We learned a lot from her too. From all the things that she has done, you and her made choices. We learned from each one of those things. I'm sure not only Sharan and I, but all the listeners, especially some of the startup founders, some of the budding entrepreneurs would take up many more lessons from here. And before everybody says goodbye, let me also tell everybody to definitely give the Baker's Dozen product a try. If you haven't, it must be available in a quick commerce site near phone. So,
absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, Sneh. Lovely.
Thank you, Sharan. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net.